I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. My name's Jake, and I've been married to Lisa for about 5 years now. We seemed like the perfect couple, or at least that's what everyone thought. We had a good life, steady jobs, a nice house, and what I thought was a solid marriage. But I guess I was blind because, looking back, there were little signs that things weren't quite right. Lisa has always been a bit of a bitch, honestly. She's sharp-tongued, quick to lie when it suits her, and she has this way of making herself seem innocent even when she's clearly guilty of something. Still, I trusted her completely. Until last month when I got deployed overseas for 2 weeks. She knew I was going, and I told her I'd be gone for a while, focusing on work. I didn't expect her to suddenly change everything while I was away, but she did. It started with small things, little shifts in her behavior. She became more secretive about her phone, hiding her texts better, deleting messages that I'd never noticed before. She was quick to dismiss any questions I had, brushing it off with a smirk or a fake laugh. I thought maybe it was just stress or her way of coping with me being gone, but then I found the receipts. One night I was trying to get a hold of her, and her phone kept ringing without an answer. I figured she was busy, but I remembered I had left my email open on her laptop. I know, I shouldn't have snooped, but I was desperate. And that's where I saw it. A string of hotel receipts, all in her name, for places in the city where she said she was just working late. But I knew better. The receipts weren't just for a dinner or a quick overnight stay. They were for overnight stays, some with her boss, Tom. Jesus. I mean, I'd heard her mention him a few times, but she always acted like he was just some work guy. But these receipts, they told a different story. Hotels, Uber receipts late at night, and even a couple of messages on her work email where she was arranging extra hours because she needed to finish a project. The way she lied about her schedule, the way she brushed off my questions, everything clicked. What broke me more than anything was the message she left on Tom's email, asking if he was free to meet up after work. Just casual, she said, but the tone was different. It was flirty, suggestive even. And all the while she kept telling me she was doing nothing wrong, that she was just working late, that I was paranoid. Yeah, right. She had the nerve to tell me all that after I found the proof. That's when I knew. She was cheating on me. With her boss, during my deployment, how long had this been going on? Did she even care about what we had? I was furious but mostly broken. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. How could she do this? How could she lie so blatantly? And the worst part, she still denied everything when I confronted her. She sat there, her face cold as ice, and told me I was overreacting, that I was imagining things, that Tom was just a friend, and I was just insecure. That she loved me, but she was stressed and needed a distraction. Yeah, a distraction. That involved risking everything we had, including her job, her reputation, and probably her dignity. I didn't even know what to say. I just stared at her, feeling like I was watching someone else's life fall apart in front of my eyes. I don't even remember what I said next, because inside, I was already planning what to do. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not after all the years we spent building something. It hurt so deeply, knowing she lied and cheated on me, and she didn't seem to care. But I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let this go. After I confronted her, she just sat there, her eyes cold and unrepentant. She kept repeating that I was overreacting, that Tom was just a work friend, and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. I could see the fake sincerity in her eyes, the way she brushed her hair back and smiled like she was the victim. That's when I realized she was good at lying. She'd been lying to everyone, including me, for months if not longer. I remember feeling this mixture of rage and despair. How could she just deny everything, knowing I had the receipts, the messages, the hotel stays? It was so clear. She was cheating on me with her boss, Tom. It made me sick to think about it. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her confess, but I also knew that wouldn't get me anywhere. Instead, I just sat there, silent, trying to keep my composure. After she left the room, I spent the night just staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd found. I kept asking myself how I'd missed the signs, how I could have been so blind. I'd always thought she was loyal, that she loved me. But the truth was, she was capable of hiding this secret for months, maybe longer. It shattered the trust I had in her, and honestly, it shattered the trust I had in any of my instincts. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to just walk away without a fight, even if it meant tearing everything apart. I started planning my next move. I knew I needed proof of her lies, more than just the receipts I'd already found. I couldn't just confront her again and hope she'd come clean. No, I had to be strategic. I decided to install a hidden recorder just in case she slipped up again. I wanted to catch her in the act if she ever lied to me again. I also started looking into private investigators, thinking I might need some help to get more concrete evidence. Meanwhile, I kept my cool around her. I didn't let her see how much she'd hurt me. I played the supportive husband, the guy who was just stressed from deployment. But inside, I was boiling. Every time she looked at me with that fake innocent smile, I felt a new surge of anger. She was so good at covering her tracks, so convincing with her lies. It was like I was dealing with a master manipulator. As for her, she kept up the act of being the doting wife. She'd cook dinner, try to act normal, and even got a little bitchy if I pressed her too hard. She'd snap and say I was paranoid, that I was ruining everything because I didn't trust her. That was her favorite line. You don't trust me, like I was the problem, but I knew better. I saw the messages. I saw the receipts. She was lying through her teeth. In a weird way, I felt a strange clarity start to form. I'd been so blind, so trusting, but now I saw her for what she really was. A liar, a cheat, someone who threw everything we had away for some fleeting sex and attention from her boss. The betrayal cut deep, but it also made me realize how much I'd let myself be played. I was angry at her, yes, but I was also angry at myself for not noticing sooner. That's where I am now, trying to figure out what to do next. I'm not even sure if I want to save this marriage anymore. Part of me wants to confront her again with everything I've gathered, and part of me just wants to walk away and never look back. Honestly, I'm hurt and pissed off, and I don't trust her anymore. But I also feel this strange sense of clarity. Finally seeing her for what she is has opened my eyes. I just don't know how to move forward from here, or if I even should. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I kept my cool on the outside, but inside I was a mess. Every time I saw her, I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. She'd try to act normal, act like everything was fine, but I knew better. I'd sit there pretending to be calm, while my mind raced with all the betrayals I'd uncovered. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time I wanted to be fully prepared. I needed to get everything out in the open, all the evidence, all the lies. I spent hours going through the messages, the receipts, even started digging into her phone history trying to find any more proof. The more I looked, the more I realized how deep her lies went. She had been sneaking around for months, probably even before I deployed. One evening, I finally set up everything I needed. I left her alone in the house for a while, pretending I was going out for a late-night walk. I couldn't trust her not to do something stupid. I hid my phone, turned on the recorder I'd installed, and waited. I felt like a fool for doing this, but I couldn't ignore the fact that I had to hear her own words. What I heard that night made my stomach drop. She was on the phone with Tom, whispering, laughing, and clearly planning something. I could hear the bed in the background, her voice getting husky, suggesting they meet up again. She was telling him she needed him, that she was tired of pretending everything was okay. The whole thing was so raw, so real, I couldn't believe I'd been living with a woman capable of this kind of deceit. When I finally played the recording back, I felt my blood boil. I was furious. I finally had irrefutable proof, her own words, her own voice, confirming what I'd suspected all along. I knew then I had to confront her face to face, no more hiding, no more pretending. It was time for the truth. I called her into the living room that night, told her I had something to show her. She looked nervous but tried to brush it off. I played the recording, and her face instantly changed from that fake innocent smile to one of panic. She stammered, tried to deny it, but I cut her off. I know everything, I said. The hotel stays, the late-night texts, your secret calls. You've been sleeping with Tom, haven't you? Her eyes flickered with anger and she snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just paranoid. I was just helping him out with some work stuff, that's all. I shook my head. You lied about everything. You lied about your schedule, your nights out, your meetings. You lied when you said nothing was going on. I've got the proof, and you think you can just deny it." She looked for a way to spin her way out of it, but I wasn't having it. I was done playing her game. I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't going to make any rash decisions, but that I wouldn't stay here and be lied to anymore. For the first time in years, I felt a clarity that scared me. I was ready to walk away if that's what it took to get out of this nightmare. She didn't cry or beg like I expected. Instead, she just sat there, cold and defiant. That's when I realized she didn't feel guilt. She felt like she was winning, like she had played me and was now waiting for the right moment to strike back. That realization made my stomach turn even more. The shock of it all was overwhelming. I thought I knew my wife. I thought we had a future. But now I saw her for what she really was, a cheat, a liar, someone who'd throw everything away for some cheap thrill with her boss. It felt like my entire world was crashing down around me, and I was just a spectator watching my life unravel. I knew I had to make a decision soon. Part of me wanted to fight for her to save what was left of our marriage, but another part just wanted to cut ties to start over. I wasn't sure what was right anymore. All I knew was I'd never trust her again. And from this moment on, everything was going to change. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard her voice lying so easily. Part of me wanted to break down, to scream at the injustice of it all, but I knew I had to stay strong, at least for now. I started packing some of my belongings quietly, trying not to let her see how much her betrayal was shaking me. I also contacted a lawyer, trying to figure out what my options were, because I knew this wasn't just about heartbreak now. It was about my future, and I wasn't going to let her ruin it. One thing I couldn't ignore was how she kept trying to manipulate the situation. She'd come into the room trying to act like everything was okay, like we could somehow fix this. But I could tell she was just putting on a show. She'd throw out little insults like, "You're overreacting," or "You're just jealous because you're not here." The nerve of her. She had the audacity to blame me for her own lies. I couldn't believe how she was still trying to control the narrative when I had everything recorded, everything documented. I knew I had to keep my distance, at least until I figured out what I was going to do, so I started staying out of the house as much as possible. I met with my friends, went to a hotel for a night just to get some space. It was the only way I could breathe, to get some clarity. Every time I thought about her, I felt this deep ache in my chest. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that during my deployment while I was out risking my life? Meanwhile, she kept up her act. She'd send me texts pretending to be concerned, asking if I was okay. But I knew better. I could tell it was just her trying to control the situation, to make me feel guilty for leaving her. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. All I cared about was the truth and what I was going to do once I had it. One night, I decided I'd had enough of the waiting game. I was going to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I set up a hidden camera in the living room, just in case she tried to deny anything again. I also made sure I had my phone ready to record everything she said. I needed her to know I wasn't messing around anymore. I wanted her to see I was serious about catching her in lies, about finally putting an end to this. That evening, she waltzed in like she owned the place, looking all fake and innocent. I played it cool, but inside I was seething. I told her I had something to show her, and I pushed the button to start recording. She looked nervous but tried to play it off. I calmly asked her about the hotel stays, the secret calls, the late nights. She tried to deny everything, saying I was crazy, that I was making it all up. But I had her on tape, her own words, her own actions. It felt like a punch in the stomach. I told her I wasn't going to tolerate her lies anymore, that I was done pretending everything was fine. I told her I was filing for divorce and that she'd better start packing her things because I wasn't staying under the same roof with a cheating, manipulative bitch. Her face twisted, her eyes flashing with anger, but she didn't argue much. She just spat out, "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I still want you, and you're too insecure to handle it." That was the last straw. I looked at her with disgust and told her she could keep her lies, her cheating, her manipulations. I was done. I was going to get out of this mess, and I was going to rebuild myself without her. I knew this wasn't just about the betrayal anymore. It was about respect, about self-worth. I'd been so blind, so willing to forgive her because I loved her, but now I saw her for what she was: a liar, a cheater, someone who threw everything we had away for some cheap sex with her boss. As I walked out that night, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with heartbreak. It wasn't easy making that decision, but deep down, I knew it was the right one. I'd been betrayed in the worst way, but maybe, just maybe, this was what I needed to finally wake up and realize I deserved better. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. Once I had made up my mind to separate, everything felt surreal. I kept replaying that night, that confrontation and her sneering face. Part of me was angry, furious, even furious at her, for lying, cheating, and treating our marriage like a game. But another part was just painfully sad. I had loved her. I had believed in us. And now all I had left were the scars of her betrayal. I moved out of the house into a friend's apartment to clear my head. I knew I needed space, time to process everything without her around. The house was filled with memories I couldn't escape, her scent lingering in the bedroom, the half-eaten meals she'd cooked, the little things that reminded me of the life I thought we had. It all felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. During this time, I also contacted a divorce lawyer. I wanted to do this the right way, legally and without drama. I knew her well enough to expect her to fight dirty, maybe try to manipulate the situation, so I wanted to be prepared. I had the recordings, the receipts, the texts, all the proof I needed to show she'd been unfaithful. I also started talking to a therapist, because honestly, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal eating away at me. It was like I'd lost a part of myself and I didn't know how to put the pieces back together. She, on the other hand, kept trying to reach out. Sometimes she'd send a text, pretending to care, asking if I was okay. Sometimes she'd show up at the door trying to guilt me into staying or forgiving her. But I wasn't having any of it. I knew her games now, and I refused to be manipulated again. The trust was gone, and I knew I'd never be able to look at her the same way. One afternoon, I found myself looking at the messages she'd sent to Tom, the hotel receipts, and the photos I'd taken of her leaving the hotel that night. It all hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just a fling. It was an affair, and she'd been lying and sneaking around for months. I had been so blind, so trusting, and she had taken advantage of that. I felt a deep sense of betrayal and anger that I couldn't suppress. I decided I needed closure, and so I sat down and wrote her a letter. Not to send, just to get everything out. I poured out how I felt, how hurt I was, how betrayed, and how I couldn't believe she'd thrown everything away for some meaningless sex. I told her I wasn't sure if I could ever forgive her, but right now, I just needed her to understand how deeply she'd hurt me. I told her I'd be filing for divorce soon, and that I hoped she'd find whatever it was she was actually looking for. That night, I stayed up all night, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it all. I kept thinking about the future, about what I wanted for myself. I knew I had to move on, rebuild my life, and forget her. But I also knew I'd carry the scars of this betrayal forever. It was a bitter pill to swallow, the realization that the woman I had loved and trusted was capable of so much deception. I learned that being blindsided by betrayal can shatter your self-esteem, but it also gives you a chance to reevaluate what truly matters. I wasn't going to let this define me, even if it hurt like hell. I promised myself to never ignore the signs again, to listen to my gut, and to never let someone manipulate me so easily. Because ultimately I realized my worth, and I knew I deserved someone who would love and respect me, not cheat and lie through her teeth. Now I'm in a different place. Still healing, still hurting, but slowly moving forward. I don't regret the pain because it's taught me what I need to know about myself. And I hope, for anyone else out there going through something similar, they find the strength to walk away before it's too late. The betrayal hurts, but staying in a lie is worse. Trust me. It's been a few weeks since I filed for divorce, and honestly, I feel like I'm starting to breathe again. The initial shock and anger have dulled into a strange mix of relief and sadness. I won't lie, it's been a brutal ride, and some days are still harder than others. But I've realized something crucial through all of this. I am stronger than I thought. I survived her betrayal, and I've learned more about myself in the process than I ever expected. Looking back, I see how blind I was, how I ignored the signs because I loved her because I wanted us to work. But love doesn't mean ignoring red flags or accepting lies. It's about respect, honesty, and mutual trust. And I have to accept that she chose to throw all that away for her own selfish reasons. That's her choice, not mine. I've started focusing on myself, reconnecting with friends I had neglected, picking up hobbies I'd abandoned, and just trying to rebuild my confidence. I won't pretend I'm completely over it or that I don't still get triggered by memories, but I know I will get through this. I have to. I've realized I don't need someone who lies to me, who cheats behind my back, and who manipulates me into thinking I'm the problem. I also learned that sometimes the truth is ugly, and facing it head-on is the only way to move forward. No more denial, no more pretending. I've accepted that I was betrayed, and that's okay. It hurts, it really does, but it's better than living in a lie. Better to know the truth and learn from it than stay blind and naive. To anyone else out there in a similar situation, trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. No matter how much you want to believe in the best. Sometimes, love isn't enough to fix everything, and staying in a toxic situation only prolongs the pain. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's lies or betrayal. It's about knowing you deserve better and having the courage to walk away when you have to. I'm not perfect, and I still have a long way to go. But for now, I'm choosing to focus on healing, on rebuilding my life one day at a time. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let this define me. I'll come out of this stronger, wiser, and more aware of what genuine love and respect should look like. And that, for me, is the real victory.